Wisdom Wednesday. I am your host, Yashika Foster, and you are watching me on YouTube up under Hood Parenting. Listen, I called it Hood Wisdom Wednesday because, I could have just simply said Wisdom Wednesday, okay? But what would be the fun in that? What would be the fun in that? Because y'all know that I'm speaking from experience, I'm speaking from the things that I've learned, and I'm sharing all the things that I've learned from the hood with you all. And so that's why it is called Hood Wisdom Wednesday, okay? Because it is a lot of things that I know for a fact that for me to be where I am now, for me to sit here where I am, I learned it because of my childhood, all right? Wasn't because I was in the military, wasn't because any of those things. Now, did those things enhance it? Absolutely. But it started from the ground. Like they say, started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Okay? Because literally I started from the bottom. You know my story. And if you don't know my story, go back and watch my story. But welcome to the first episode of Hood Wisdom Wednesday. Today we are talking about, on this first episode, I think before we move further, before we get into this thing, before we talk about anything else, we need to address how to make a decision when you are confused. Okay? Because listen, that right there is more common than you think. I understand every day in my life that people don't make decisions easily. And decision making is not something that everybody can do and do effectively. All right. Okay? So here on Hood Wisdom Wednesday, this is where we slow it down just a little bit. We just slow it down a little bit. Talk about why do we stay confused? Let's keep it real. Most of the time, we're not really confused. We're not really confused. We're not actually confused. What it is that we don't really agree with the answer. That's what it is, because we know exactly what needs to be done, but we already know that what the answer is going to be, and we don't like it. We don't like it. So it's not that we are confused. It's just that we don't like the outcome. So because we don't like the outcome, we stay confused. That's it. That's it. All right. So for example, when it comes to a relationship, okay? Now, you know that sometimes a relationship is done. All right. But you'll still try to hold on to it, waiting on somebody else to say, well, we're not together no more. Okay. It's like, well, why are you waiting on them to tell you that? You already know you're not together. All right. When you asked the question, you already knew the answer. So why you asked the question? You should have just go ahead and made provisions. Okay. The relationship is done. You didn't need to ask that. So why are you still acting confused? You're not confused. You just didn't like the answer. That's what I mean by that. That's what I mean by sometimes we're not confused. We just don't like the answer. All right. Confusion is something we just dressed up as indecision. That's it. Just indecision, because being indecisive, because if I know if I do this or if I make this decision here, then this might happen, because we already know that every action has a reaction. All right. Every input has an output. Every income has an outcome, right? Every income has an outcome. In other words, everything that comes in comes out. All right. Everything that comes in comes out. Right. So if that's the case, we still, for whatever reason, will take confusion and we'll dress it up real nice and everything. And what it really is just indecisiveness, or we stand confused because we don't know the answer. So how do we clear up all of that? How do you say, okay, I need to be able to make a decision. I don't want to be confused anymore. I want to be able to make a decision, one that is suitable for me. So what do? You go around and you ask 12, 13, 14 different people. You ask your mom and them, you ask your cousins them, you ask your friends them. You ask everybody, what should you do? Okay. You didn't ask everybody on your block. You didn't ask everybody in your family tree. You didn't ask everybody what you should do. And so now you got all these opinions. You got all these, well, if I was you, and what you should do, and why don't you consider, and why don't you just, or how about this? Instead of you doing all that, right? Asking 12, 13, 14 different people. This is how you clear up some of that noise. You get you 2, 3 good solid people that you can turn to when you are indecisive or you need to make a sound decision about something in your life. But now here's the thing. You can't just pick anybody for anything. If I am in a marriage, okay, and I am having some marital issues about my marriage, and we're talking about divorce or we're talking about whatever, right? Like, I don't want to do this no more, like, whatever. The last thing I'm going to do is go talk to someone that has never been married before. Now, I didn't say married and divorced because we all go through stuff in life. I'm talking about someone who has never been married before. I would never go seek marital advice from someone that's never been married. Just like I would not go seek financial advice and how to get rich from somebody who's never been rich. You see what I'm saying? You got to know where you getting your information from. And also, everybody that you get your information from, they're not always, they don't always have your best intention. So when you're going to ask opinions or you get advice from somebody, not everyone has your best intentions. I'm going to give y'all a story of how I know this to be true. I had a friend one time, and I'm going to use that word very loosely, right? Because it wasn't a friend, but in my mind, they were a friend. Okay. Now, I didn't realize this until after this quote unquote friendship ended. I didn't understand until I started playing things in my mind. Now, this particular person, we used to work together years ago. And because of the circumstances of our job, I made it a point to befriend this person because it was just so few of us that was there. And so I made it a point to friend this person because I'm like, listen, we're the minority here and we definitely have to be friends. And so there would be points in life where this person would remind me time and time again about how I made them be my friend. And so when there were situations that would occur, even after we didn't work together, like a lot of things that occurred, I recall like when things came to head, because this person said to me, well, you made me be your friend. And so it was that thing to me where I recognized that because I made them be my friend, right, according to them, then they didn't really know how to be my friend. And so when I would ask advice or I would talk to them about just life in general, just life, they will always give me opinions that weren't warm and fuzzy. They will always give me opinions that of someone that you wouldn't probably get it from a friend. You know what I mean? It would be some things that's like, wait a minute, huh? You know, it would be those kind of things. And then one day it dawned on me, Yashika, this person has said to you many a times before that you made them be your friend. So because they not a willing participant, they're not really your friend. So therefore, when you're talking to them and you're seeking advice or their opinions or something like that, they're not going to give you the opinion of a friend. Now, keep in mind also, the opinion of a friend is not always an opinion that aligns up with yours. Make no mistake about it. An opinion of a friend doesn't always align up with your opinion. Okay, you are two different individuals. You have two different opinions about life. However, you know when a person is giving you advice and is coming from an authentic place versus a place that's not authentic or not pure. And so I recognize that. And so for me, I was like, okay, this is not who it is. So when you're talking about asking people for advice or opinions about things, make sure you are very clear about who you're asking and what you're asking. And make sure you understand what you're asking of people, because everyone that says they're your friend or they says they're this, they're not. And you have to be mindful of that, because sometimes that person can make you more confused or put something in your head that wasn't even there. And so now you're even more confused than you were before. So when you do go and talk to people, make sure it's people that you trust, people that you know can give you some good insight, and it's going to come from authentic place, a pure place, and a place of love, not a place of anything negative. Right now, another thing, a way to clear the noise is, like I said, you pick one or two of those people and you listen to them, right? And you go with it from there. You don't listen to everybody. You just pick one or two people and you say, okay, these are the opinions that I am going to go with. And then on top of that, and here's another thing, if by chance none of that works, so you can't make a decision, you weighed your odds, you asked your trusted people, you sought out counsel, you sat with some things, you've done what you needed to do. Like if you pray about it. If you consult with whoever, like you journal about it, whatever you needed to do to get there. If you still cannot make a decision, here is one of the things that I like to think about. I call it the 10-10-10 rule. 10-10-10. Okay. The 10-10-10 rule is simply as this. Ask yourself, if I make this decision, right? Because so remember, if you from when you think about it from an emotional reactive, how will I feel emotionally 10 minutes from now with me making this decision or me doing this way? How would I feel about it 10 minutes from now? Now, think about it from a short-term outcome. How will I feel about it if I make this decision? And how will I feel about it 10 months from now or 10 weeks? Because 10 weeks, 10 months is still short term, right? 10 weeks, 10 months, still short term. Then when you think about a long-term legacy or long-term legacy, ask yourself, how will I feel about this decision 10 years from now? So that's the 10-10 rule. So think about it. 10 minutes from now, how emotionally will I feel about this? 10 months or 10 weeks from now, short-term outcome, will I be okay with the outcome from it? Short term, will I be okay with the outcome? Long term, 10 years from now, will I be okay with that outcome? All right. Long term legacy. Will I be okay with that outcome? Because remember, decisions you make now can very well affect you for the rest of your life. So when you're making decisions, right, you have to make sure, especially life altering decisions, you have to really make sure that, listen, I am going to make the best decision with the information that I have right now. We can't make decisions about our lives 10 years from now for today, right? We can't. We only can do what we have. We only can do what we have right now. Because granted, if I look back on my life and look at some of the things that I've done when I was younger, there are a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have done because I was doing it from a place of emotion. And so I didn't have that, okay, how will I feel 10 minutes from now or 10 weeks from now or 10 months from now or 10 years from now? I didn't have that insight. For me, it was, I need to do this right now. And so sometimes I made decisions from that emotional standpoint, and then I had to live with those decisions, whether it was 10 weeks or 10 years from that point. So we have to be careful about it. Sometimes we don't have that window. Sometimes we don't have the luxury because you have to understand that you make a decision from where you are right now in your life, and you have to be okay with it. But if you just stop and take a moment and think about it, right? Stop, take a moment and think about it. Because see, here's what I do know. Let's just say that somebody hire you for a speaking engagement. Because see, when we make decisions from an emotional standpoint, although we're making them and we have to think about how we feel 10 minutes from now or 10 months from now or 10 years from now, we have to also recognize that sometimes when we do things, when we think about it 10 years from now, it may have a different effect on us. Let me give an example. Say that you're one of the people that's afraid to speak at an event, right? But you were asked to speak at an event and the event was 10 minutes. You had to get up on stage and you had 10 minutes to speak about a particular event or a particular subject at this event. Now, in your mind, you are nervous. You're thinking to yourself, there's no way in the world that I can do that for 10 minutes. I'm going to be nervous for a whole 10 minutes. But then guess what? After that 10 minutes is up, guess what's going to happen? You've been and got it done. The nerve is gone. The nerve that you had 10 minutes ago, now that the 10 minutes is up, those nerve is gone. And you're like, wait a minute, I survived, right? I survived. That's why I say when you think about it, 10-10-10, I survived those 10 minutes, although I didn't think I can do it. Okay. However, think about it 10 months from now, and you can say to yourself, you know what? I'm so proud of myself. I did that event where I stood on that stage for 10 minutes and spoke. Think about it 10 years from now. You're going to be like, you know what? Remember that time I stood on that stage and I spoke for 10 minutes? That's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. That was 10 years ago. I remember being nervous and everything. It wasn't but 10 minutes and I overcame it. Imagine that. But also that 10 minutes of your decision making, if you make the wrong decision, it could very well affect you because that same story, you could say, oh my God, I'll be nervous. I can't get up there and speak. For 10 whole minutes, there's no way I'm nervous. Therefore, if you don't do it, 10 months from now, you're going to be like, dang, if I had done that though, you know what? Maybe it would have had the courage to do this. And then 10 years from now, you're like, you know what? I didn't do these things because I didn't have the courage to do that one thing. And I just wondered if I had did that one thing, would I have to have courage to do the other thing? Now, that ain't regret. That's simply looking at your life from a different perspective. But what I do know is that no matter what you do, once those 10 minutes, those 10 months, those 10 weeks, or those 10 years are gone, they gone. You can't get them back. So don't have 10 minutes of decisions or 10 minutes of nervousness or 10 minutes of indecisiveness affecting you in a negative way 10 years from now, because you can't get that time back. So be mindful of that. So go ahead, decide, and then adjust, right? Go ahead, decide and adjust. Here's how you do it. Some decisions aren't permanent. We know that. You can pivot. You make a decision. You say, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do this. I'm going to turn the degree just a little bit. You can pivot. You can pivot. All right. But staying stuck will cost you more than making a wrong move. So that's why it's important to make a decision no matter what, because the only alternative from that is staying in one position, stand stuck, because that 10 minutes that you was afraid of might keep you stuck for the next 10 years because you're still letting fear overwhelm you. So sometimes you have to go ahead and make a decision and say, you know what? I'm going to have to go ahead and do this, whether it's scary or not, because I already know I don't want to have the regret 10 minutes from now because I may not get this opportunity again. Or I don't want to do this thing because I know if I do this thing, I'm going to regret it 10 minutes from now, 10 months from now, or 10 years from now. You got to decide that. Sometimes we don't have that type of luxury where we have that time to make a decision, and you have to base it on what you have now. You don't even have time to call nobody. What do you have now? And just take a minute. You got at least 10 seconds and you think about it. You think about that decision, because although you may not have 10 minutes, you may not have 10 months, you may not have 10 weeks, and you may not have 10 years. You have 10 seconds to think about your decision and make a decision before you do it, or make a decision so that you won't be stuck. Okay. So the takeaway here, confusion thrives in delay. Anytime and any day. Confusion, delay. They're right there. They're one and the same. You're sitting there. You like, which way do I go? It's like, do I go left or right? Like, think about it. You come to a T intersection in the road. Okay. A T intersection. Okay. You can sit there and now you got a 50-50 chance. Either you go left or you go right, because it's a T intersection. You can't go straight ahead. All right. Or you could turn back around and go back where you came. Now you already know where you came from is where you don't want to be. So you left there. So you don't want to go back there. You got to go either left or right. What you going to do? And sometimes you have to make a decision really, really fast. All right. So confusion thrives in delay. Don't be delayed. If not, you'll be sitting right there at that T intersection waiting to go left or right. Clarity comes from action. In order to make sure that your confusion is gone and it doesn't thrive in delay, clarity comes from action. Because every time you make an action or you do a step, you can adjust as you go, right? You can adjust as you go. We have this thing in the Army called a full step. It's 30 inches. To the front to the rear is 30 inches. A half step is 15 inches. Okay, from the front to the rear is 15 inches. Sometimes it's okay to slow it down just a little bit and go a half step. Because when you go a half step, you may have to pivot real quick. Because literally you can come to a halt from the half step and pivot real quick. You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to that, understand that clarity comes from actions, because once you start moving, you can figure out where you need to make the adjustments, how you need to pivot, and do so. The next time you won't feel so stuck. Next time you'll have a little bit more clarity, right? So make sure to get clear on the real questions. Limit the input from people. Okay. Limit the input from what, don't go ask everybody. Don't go asking everybody. All right. Use the 10-10-10 rule, 10-10-10 rule, and decide and adjust. It's just that simple. So anytime you are unsure and it's hard to make a decision, do those things. Get clear on the real question. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm really trying to do here? Be very, very clear. When you go and ask for opinions of others, make sure it's people that can give you honest advice, honest opinions, and help you with decisions from a place of love, not from anything else. I mean, don't get a whole bunch of opinions. Only get yourself a couple of them. That's it. That's all you need. A couple of people to help you make a decision. Don't go get all 20 people in your family. You'll be confused as heck. You'll come out having more questions than you did going in. Find you 2, 3, maybe 4, like a backup, maybe people that you really trust. And those are the people you put in your corner. Step, right? And decide, try, learn, and adjust. Decide, okay, I'm at this T intersection. I'm going to go on to the right, 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 right. I'm going to go to the right, 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 because the right is right, right, right. So I'm going to go to the right. Okay. I don't know any other else. So I'm just going to go to the right because right sounds right. That's why I'm going to go to the right at the T intersection. Now, once I get down that road and it ain't the right road, I can turn back around because now I know it ain't but one other direction I can go because I done been down this road already and I done went to the right. So now I got to go with what would have been the left. Now I got to turn around and go that way because now I can adjust. I can adjust. There was 3 directions. I already came from one. I went that way and it was the wrong way. Now I got this way over here. And that's it. That's it. That's it. You adjust, you pivot, and that's it. I don't know who this is for, but I know this is for somebody. So listen, make sure if this helped you, drop a comment below. Be like, you know what? I'm so glad because right now I have to make a decision in my life and I don't know how to do it. And I am so glad that you gave me these steps. Go ahead and drop some fire down below. Just say me. Just say me. Just hold a hand up. Just hold your hand up and say, use that emoji or that emoji where they just hold their hand up and say me. I was the one that was in the middle of making a decision and I couldn't do it. And I'm so glad you made this video, Yashika. I'm so glad that I came across hood parents and this video was made. All right. So again, if this is your first time here, hello and welcome. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and turn on your notifications. So when I drop another video, you will know. You will know when I drop another video. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.